Good afternoon, everybody, and a very warm welcome to you all to our first workshop for this trimester, Professional Conduct and Etiquettes in the World of Work. My name is Usma Shaheen, and I'm one of the lecturers in Murdoch University, and I'm also your employability support person. So if you have questions related to CVs, update or LinkedIn profile, or you need to practice an interview that may be coming up, or you're looking for internship opportunities, please don't hesitate to send an email to me. I come in person to the campus on Thursdays, so book an appointment in advance, or we can always connect through Zoom as well. So any time of the week, just give me some advance notice and we will plan to meet and help you out as much as possible. Any questions before we get started? Yeah, feel free to interrupt me. Feel free to tell me if I'm too fast or too slow, or you'd like me to repeat something. This is a session that I'm doing for you. So please try your best to take full advantage of the time and the resources that I'm sharing with you. Okay. So in today's session, we are going to be focusing on 5 key elements. First of all, I'd like we all to have an understanding of what's the meaning of professional conduct. What do we mean when we talk about etiquettes in the world of work, right? We've talked about etiquettes and manners at home, in the university, when you're interacting with your parents' friends or your friends' parents, and so on. We understand what those manners are, but we really want to understand from the perspective of professional etiquettes. What is it that is considered to be polite in the world of work? What is considered to be impolite? What is an appropriate behavior in the world of work? That is something we're going to be focusing on today. And I'd like to align it with, how you can establish your brand within the world of work by conducting yourself in the most professional way, by handling yourself in a way that people remember you for the way you present yourself and the way you carry yourself in the world of work. We will also touch on a very important topic, which is really the etiquettes you demonstrate when you are using the internet. That's called as netiquettes, right? So etiquettes on the net. So in particular, we'll be focusing on how do you conduct yourself when you're sending emails, for example, or when you are communicating with your colleagues, or as an example, during internship, using SharePoint, which is a collaborative workspace. And a lot of organizations are utilizing SharePoint as a discussion portal, right? So there are a lot of different tools that are available today in the digital, highly globalized world of work, whereby we're interacting with each other through the internet. And we really want to understand how best to carry ourselves when we are interacting virtually, your digital brand. How do people get to know you as an individual when they really can't see your physical being, right? And then we're going to align it with networking. And we're basically trying to say that when you conduct yourself professionally, when you demonstrate good etiquettes at work, you not only develop your brand, but you also get the opportunity to network with people in the professional circuit. And networking, as you know, is very critical when it comes to job search or when you're actually looking for internship opportunities. So you have to be in the mode of constantly networking. That is something that we're going to touch on today as well. And finally, a very important topic that I try to bring into my workshops quite often, and that is, how do you handle conflicts, right? And handling conflicts is very critical, because no matter where you go, it doesn't, irrespective of what you do, there is always a chance that you're going to face some kind of a disagreement or a conflict. And it is not necessary that you are at wrong in that situation, but you still have to conduct yourself in a way that you are perceived appropriately. right? So we're going to touch on that as well. Is there anything else you'd like me to cover in my session today? If so, feel free to ask questions. I love it when students ask questions, and you can always use the chat if you feel a bit uncomfortable asking the questions, but I would strongly recommend that you use this medium as a mechanism by which you are practicing your public speaking. The more you practice, the better you become. You become comfortable with public speaking only by practicing it. Okay, so let's now get started with the first element in my agenda, which is what is professional conduct and etiquettes. So whether you are in the university, my dear students, or you are in the work environment, you need to demonstrate good conduct, right? Because your university and your work environment are both professional places, and thus you need to maintain etiquettes in all your communications. So make sure that you're communicating politely and you are appropriate in the way you're interacting with people, whether you are interacting with them in person or it is through online, right? So you need to be polite. Oftentimes, as a teaching faculty, I've received emails from students whereby the student will just say, ma'am, please help me with this. So there's no greeting. It doesn't say, dear ma'am, I hope you're doing well. Could you please help me with this question? Thank you. Best regards, right? So you add a few sentences, but you really present yourself in a way that seems appropriate for professional interactions, right? That's very much part of the etiquettes that you demonstrate at work. So you remain professional and courteous, but you stay focused on your goals. It is very easy, my dear students, to lose sight of your goals that you have set for yourself. And in the professional environment, being goal-oriented, why you are there, what is it that you're really trying to gain out of your experience in that organization? Remembering that at all times is very important. That aspect, being goal-oriented, is also being professional, right? And when you're interacting with people in a team setting, or when you're responding to people for their questions or having a discussion on the table, either in person or via email, you need to be sensitive to the cultural differences of people, right? And different people come from very different backgrounds, and thus you need to know what is considered to be polite. I'll give you an example. So in UAE, to extend your hand to an individual of opposite gender is not polite. So if you're a man, or if you're a male student and you extend your hand to a female student, in UAE in particular, based on the culture of the UAE, it is not appropriate. So you don't generally extend the hand, because often Muslim girls do not shake hands with male counterparts, right? So you need to be sensitive about the cultural differences. But when you go abroad, let's say you go to North America, if you don't extend your hand when you meet somebody, that is considered impolite. So something that you need to be aware of. And whenever you have people from different parts of the world, you're all studying in an international university, whenever you interact with people with diverse backgrounds, whether it is diversity in ethnicity or in diversity in a religion, diversity in terms of the nationality, the language, it could be diversity in political views as well. Please do respect everybody's opinion, right? Everybody has the right to have an opinion that is in line with their preferences and interests. And that is also being professional, being able to respect other people's opinions, being able to welcome diversity, my dear students. That is also part of professional etiquettes. Right? So why are we paying so much attention to etiquettes? The reason why we're doing it is because this is part of your brand development, right? So brand is how you present yourself. Brand is all about how you carry yourself in the world of work, your skill set, the experience, the attitudes, the personality that you want the world to see in you, the real self that you bring to the work environment every single day. You want people to see the best of it, right? Brand, as they say, is like your shadow. You carry it wherever you go. So once you've established your brand, people then perceive you in the same light. That is why we say your first impressions are very important. If there is a conflict in the workplace when you're actually doing your internship, or let's say you go to an office in the university and you're really upset with something, they had promised that they're going to send you an email, but they didn't do anything about it. It's really up to you to figure out, how do I communicate my needs to them in a way that I'm not presenting myself in a negative light, right? So be polite, be courteous, but of course be honest. Do say, I was waiting for an email from you. I hadn't received it, so I was very worried. Would it be possible for you to send me an email after this so that I know where my request is? So when you're angry or when you're upset, it is not necessary for you to represent yourself in that mode. You can always conduct yourself in a way that people understand you while presenting your point of view in line with the goals that you have set for yourself. Okay, so I want to ask you all, tell me, why do we want to establish a brand? Whether you are in the university or you are in the world of work, why are we so interested about our brand? Rosabella, would you want to respond to this? And there's no right or wrong answer. Yeah? Okay, no issues at all. If you don't know the answer, you don't know. I'll tell you that our personal and our professional brand is becoming all the more important with the technological advancement that the world is seeing today. Everything is now happening digitally, whether you're making the payment to the bank, whether you're doing a transaction for purchase of retail, whether you are actually completing your assignment and submitting it using the learning management system, you're writing an email asking for a particular question. The world has transformed completely, and technology has actually transformed the world of work. Now, in technology, the challenge is that you don't see the person. Like today, I'm giving you a workshop, right? And in this workshop, you can see me, you can understand or get a sense of my personality, but it's not the same as meeting with me in person at the university, right? So it is very important that when you're interacting with people through online media, and when you're utilizing technological tools in the world of work, you present yourself in a way that you are continuing to develop your brand, right? It is your online brand that's going to set you apart. It's your brand that will make a lasting impression on you. So make it in a way that helps you build trust and reflects who you truly are, right? That's what we're saying by focusing on the brand. We're not saying you become dishonest in the way you carry yourself. You need to be your authentic self. Conduct yourself with authenticity, because that's where your strong personality is going to come out. But at the same time, make sure you know the do's and don'ts of how you interact in a professional environment, right? So keep these in mind as I take you through the later parts of this workshop. Let's now focus a bit on etiquettes. So etiquettes, as I mentioned, are etiquettes that you show when you are using the internet. Etiquettes on the net are etiquettes. So whether you're using emails, or you're using your learning management system, or you're using a tool like SharePoint, or you are actually conducting yourself in a meeting via Zoom or Microsoft Teams or Google Meets, it doesn't matter what technological background or platform you're utilizing, my dear students. You need to be aware of the persona you're going to carry in a digital media. So always remain courteous, be professional, and use appropriate language, which means you don't start using slang with people on the net who are not your friends, right? So you may be in a meeting with your CEO using Zoom. You have to conduct yourself exactly as you would have conducted yourself when you are there in person with him, right? All the more, you need to be aware of your tone of voice because people cannot see you. So for example, if you ask me a question and I reply to you and say, no, this is not how it's done, it's very different than when you send me a question and I reply to you and say, no, this is not how it's done in an email, because you don't know my tone. It may sound very rude to you, thinking that I started my sentence with a no, as if I'm upset with you, as if I'm angry with you, right? So that's why you use dear sir or dear madam. Thank you for the time you have taken to respond to my question. I have another question. Please respond to me when it is possible for you. You sort of sprinkle the sugar in your communication on the net so that people do not misinterpret your tone of voice and they don't think that you are being disrespectful, right? Especially when it comes to humor. Sometimes, we interact with each other and, we joke about it. And because we are there in person, it is very easy to understand, right? There's a smile on the face. We could use the language of the eyes to convey what you're feeling, and humor is then seen as humor. Now, when you're actually interacting through the internet, there is no face to it in most cases, right? And thus, it is hard for people to figure out whether you're joking or you're actually saying something in seriousness. So be careful when you're using humor in an online environment. And when you're sending messages, whether you're sending messages through WhatsApp or when you're writing an email, or you're actually using the chat in a Zoom meeting or whatever the platform may be, whenever you're sending messages, my dear students, please develop the habit to double check your message before you send it. So in terms of the grammar, the spelling, the font, any of the typographical errors can actually make a huge difference to what you're writing, right? And sometimes the auto correction can be very funny. So especially if you're interacting with your CEO, if you're interacting with your faculty lecturer, if you're interacting with your manager during internship through WhatsApp, for example, when you write down the message, just double check it. Check the grammar, check the spelling, make sure that there are no typographical errors. Okay, my dear students? So far, so good. So remember to greet people appropriately in your emails, WhatsApp messages, LinkedIn connection requests. And in all your interactions, try to be effective. That means you go in prepared. You figure out what is it that you need to ask in that interaction, write it down, write down the questions as your meeting goes on, make notes, and conduct yourself confidently as much as possible. I cannot emphasize the value of confidence more. And it doesn't matter how you look. It doesn't matter how you feel that particular day. It doesn't matter how hard that particular question may be. You have to still be confident in yourself, right? And that's something that's going to establish your brand. Because when you're confident, my dear students, your brain is more rational. It is in the inconfidence when you're anxious or not confident, your brain, the there's a section of our head, which is the rational thinker. The rational thinking is hijacked naturally by our brain when we are either underconfident or we are anxious. So if you're not feeling confident, tell yourself, no, it should be all right. I'm going to manage it to the best of my abilities. I am going to be confident, right? Just giving that positive message to yourself will do wonders for you. And of course, you have to deal with it through preparations. Prepare for your meeting, prepare for your presentation, and remain confident, right? So your colleagues, your friends, your teachers, your managers will perceive your personality based on how you engage with them, both electronically and in person. Good intentions, my dear students, are not enough, unfortunately. So you may be thinking, my intention is not to say something rude, but you have to conduct yourself in a way that you're not even perceived as being rude, right? So make sure you're aware of all of this. That's really part of self-awareness and social awareness. Always present yourself in a pleasant, professional manner, but do that with authenticity, which means try to hone your personality and try to develop yourself in a way that you are usually present at home and outside. And that this is when you become your authentic self, right? So email communications, my dear students, is the most frequently used method of communication in the work environment. I remember when I was working in the corporate sector, I used to respond to 200 emails every single day. Sometimes there are questions employees are asking. Sometimes they're asking for clarifications. Sometimes you're participating in a discussion within your own team. You're deciding something. So in all of these, it is very important that you understand how to communicate effectively via email medium. There's a very interesting course workshop that we are also planning to do on Outlook. You're going to get the poster. Actually, we are looking at ways by which we can enhance the digital literacy of our students. So we've developed a program for this semester, and starting February, we are going to do one workshop on Microsoft Word, one on Microsoft PowerPoint, one on Microsoft Excel, and one on Outlook through this semester. It's just going to be a brief workshop, but this workshop is going to be focusing on the advanced features of Microsoft Office suite of applications, right? So keep an eye on what kind of support is being provided to you for enhancing your digital literacy, because this is something very, very critical in the world of work, right? And in addition to improving your digital literacy, my dear students, you need to continue to hone your oral and written communication skills, so that when you are responding to emails in the world of work, during internships, or during full-time work after you graduate, you can do that fairly quickly and efficiently. So seek every opportunity now to enhance your written and oral communication skills. So oral communication skills, one way you can enhance is by asking questions in the workshop today, or by participating in the workshop today. You'll just get the opportunity to practice how to speak up, right? And in the meetings in the world of work, you are required to speak up quite often. Otherwise, people don't get to know what you bring to the table, right? So your email communication is vital in the world of work. And the rule of thumb, my dear students, is respond typically between 24 to 48 hours, right? So there are some dilemmas. So when you get an email, just as I said, that you need to respond to emails within 24 to 48 hours, which means 1 to 2 days. But sometimes the email is very sensitive. And in those situations, that's a dilemma. Dilemma means if you do it, you are in danger. If you don't do it, you're in danger. So you have to remember that your email will be read by others. So you need to figure out how best to respond to that email and very carefully consider what are you including in your email, right? If there's something that you cannot do, for example, respond quickly and say, thank you for your email request. I'm sorry, but I have so many things to focus on right now. Unfortunately, I will not be in a position to complete the required work by Wednesday as per your email attached, right? So set that expectation early on. Part of Etiquettes, part of being professional, part of being, positive and pleasant is that you develop your relationship with people in a way that you can be honest with them, right? At the end of the day, my dear students, we are all there to do our work well. And in that process, so that's your high level goal. And then underneath that high level goal, of course, you're building relationships, of course, you're networking, of course, you're learning and developing your skill set and so on. But remember that your goal and your worth in the world of work is really based on the value that you create through your work, right? And when you're responding to the emails, be aware of the impact you had through that email. You're in discussion with people, not computers. So be mindful of the words. Thank them. Say sorry if you couldn't reply to them within 24 to 48 hours. Say, I'm sorry I couldn't get back to you within 24 to 48 hours as I had hoped. This is a very busy time of the year for me, and thus I was focused on doing some critical tasks. Express yourself. There's absolutely no problem in doing that, right? Because on the other side, there you see a human being who has a heart, who has a mind, who has feelings. So you don't want them to feel that you did not respond to their email just like that, right? And very important thing that I want to let you all know, while it's important to be respectful and courteous, my dear students, if there are situations where you don't agree to a particular discussion item or a question, please say so. That's really the essence of a rigorous discussion, a rigorous work environment, whereby everybody is actually creating value for the organization, right? And in that process, you're creating value for yourself as well. So while it's good to be polite, it's very good to be agreeable as a person, but don't let that come in the way of good work. Okay. Sometimes we get the email and we respond immediately. That also puts a lot of pressure on us, because then the whole day, what we're doing is we are responding to emails. So sometimes you have to prioritize and say, okay, I'm going to focus on getting this work done for the next 2 hours. Then from 11 to 12, I'm going to address my most critical emails. And maybe then I'm going to look at the rest of my emails at the end of the day. Because again, we have the 24 to 48 hours window available. So you don't necessarily need to respond too quickly and not get a chance to carefully consider what you're writing, or make typographical errors because you were in a rush, or you were in the middle of something and you pulled yourself and started finishing off your email. Okay, my dear students, so far so good. So as you are conducting yourself in the world of work, one of the things that you are also focused on in terms of your goal orientation is networking. So this is when you're interacting with others to develop professional contacts, right? And of course, your interaction with others in the world of work is usually based on some kind of work. So this is called as professional networking. But you could very well have friends who may be very dear to you, and these are people who are part of your personal networking. Right, my dear students? So there are many different types of networking. There's also digital networking, whereby you're interacting with somebody through LinkedIn. You've never met that person, but you can say, this person, I know this individual, and I've actually sent my CV to this individual in order to see if there are positions available in his organization. He is part of my digital network. Then you also do networking within the company. That's called as internal company networking. And then you do networking outside of the company. That's external company networking. It could be through conferences or customers you may have, or clients you may have met, or people from other different organizations you may be meeting as part of a group, as part of a WhatsApp group that meets on a regular basis, and so on. So there are many different layers of networking, but in all of them, we interact with each other for some exchange of information. But at the end of the day, we are building trust. At the end of the day, we are really trying to get to know each other so that we can provide the support to each other as and when needed. The good part with networking is that it is something that you do all along. So networking is not something that you are working on today, but you'll stop working on it in the future, right? Networking is something whereby you may be constantly posting on LinkedIn. You need to be active on LinkedIn to be able to develop a broad network so that people get to know that you are highly engaged in your professional pursuits, right? Then you are, and as you're interacting with people for forming a network, it's all about your employability. At the end of the day, if there are people on the network who can help you get a job, then that is something that will be of great value. There's a certain point in life, my dear students, whereby you get jobs based on who you know. You know, you get to that level, you have such advanced experience whereby you don't really need to apply for jobs. You constantly get projects, whether it's consulting work or it is actually short-term or full-time contracts, basically based on people you may have interacted with over the course of your career. So all along, you need to build your technical know-how, and you have to take along your human-centric skills. So technical know-how, my dear students, could be that if you're in IT, you're thinking about how you can establish a solid foundation of Java programming, or how you can learn about databases, or how you can actually learn about website design. But along with that, you need to be honing your human-centered skills, such as critical thinking, communication skills, creative thinking, or oral and written spoke and interpersonal communication. The 9 employability skills that are taught in MSP 100, MSP 200, and MSP 1001. Most of you will do these courses because these are part of the courses everybody has to do, right? So because we really want our students to be thinking about their technical skills and their soft skills along the way. Now, when you're identifying employers, it's a good idea to identify what industry you may be interested in, what employers you may be interested in. And when you know, let's say you're interested in Etiquettes or Emirates, get to know your employer through Twitter, through LinkedIn, through Facebook. There's so many different platforms or medium by which you'll be able to get to know your employers more. And in that process, my dear students, remember to take baby steps towards developing your skill so that you can benefit from the brand you're creating and you can benefit from networking. I want you all to understand that networking is only going to get you up to the interview stage. But after that stage, it is really the skill set that you have developed for yourself, right? Stay focused, perform well in all your interactions, in all your engagements. Build long-term relationships. As you're taking from people, provide support as well. And develop connections with others based on your strengths, right? So constantly seek ways by which you are actually developing your brand, you're conducting yourself in a way that people perceive you as somebody who's courteous, who's well brought up, somebody who is cool-minded, can handle difficult situations, right? Whether you're interacting with other fellow students, or you're interacting with hiring managers and recruiters, or you're interacting with the general public. In all your interactions, my dear students, you have to conduct yourself in a way that people perceive you well. right? And it is through these demonstration of good etiquettes that you'll be able to leverage your connections, right? So look beyond your current job. If you may be doing your internship, you may be doing volunteer work, you may be involved in some kind of clubs or classroom activities in the university. In all those situations, my dear students, don't just look at that work, look at the connection that you are forming. You'll be surprised how those connections will come in so handy in years to come, right? So when you send emails to your colleagues, when you send session, make sure that you maintain good etiquettes, right? Be open to connecting with a large number of people. Don't just limit yourself to 5 friends that you are close with. Talk to people in the corridor in the university, talk to people in the corridor when you are there for internships, when you're sitting in for a meeting, get to know others, build trust and genuine relationships, and be active in your interactions with others. Any questions, my dear students? So how do you manage yourself during work opportunities? Let's say you are doing an internship. And in that internship, you have to conduct yourself in a way that people perceive you well. So you need to build a positive reputation every single day, right? And keep a good balance between doing high quality work and branding. So the rule of thumb is 30% of your time every single day should be spent on branding, should be spent on networking, right? Take initiatives, work outside the normal day-to-day responsibility, meet people on different floors, different teams, different departments, get to know them and let them get to know you as well, right? And continuously focus on professional development. There's so many free online courses that are available. You can always, book a particular course and do it gradually every single day for 10 minutes. If you spend time on Coursera or on, other sites that are available that offer free courses, or just start reading blogs on the internet, or just go to LinkedIn and Twitter and get to know what's really happening, be aware of the opportunities around you, you would be able to have a very good understanding of how best can you leverage the opportunities that are available in the world of work, right? Build strong work relationships, whether it is your faculty, or it is your fellow students. It's a mindset, my dear students. When you attend a particular lecture, follow it by an email and say, I really enjoyed this lecture of today. Can I ask you this question? Make sure that you make the time for it so that people understand you and remember you. And if you go to your faculty and you need them to send you a recommendation letter, they're the ones who remember you very well, right? So meet as many people as you can and stay in touch even after the internship is complete, even after the meeting is completed. Stay in touch with people you feel can be of support to you in your career pursuits. And seek mentors or career advisors. That's something very important, my dear students. I cannot emphasize how critical it is to have career advisors and mentors. And of course, when you conduct yourself professionally, when you're courteous and when you're pleasant, people will be ready to mentor you. But if you are a wrangler, if you are ready to pick up a fight, people would not be interested to network with you as well. That's another reason why it's very important to conduct yourself and professionally and have good etiquettes, because that's the only way to develop strong work relationships, right? The work opportunity is not just about great work, my dear students. It's also an opportunity to develop your network, your relationships, and socialize, right? I now want to touch a bit on conflict management. So as I said, my dear students, no matter where you are, you will always face situations which are difficult. Is there anybody who would like to share a conflict situation he or she has faced at home, in the university, or during internship? No? Okay. So I can tell you that, I've been working for about 20 years. And in these 20 years, although I generally don't have conflicts, thank God for that, somehow, but there are sometimes situations where people misunderstand you, or there are situations where somebody, says something to you in a way that you get offended, right? So you do have that kind of conflict situations at work. It could very well be that somebody walked away with your work and presented as her own or his own, right? That's why it's very important, my dear students, to be able to develop good relationships with people so that you can be honest with them and choose your battles wisely. Maintain healthy boundaries at work. When you have healthy boundaries, you can always say no to them. But when you become, when you cross all boundaries, it is difficult for you to manage that relationship. And at the end of the day, remember that at work, in the work environment, it is really your work that's going to give you a leverage. So that's what your focus is going to be. That's why you need to remain very goal-oriented, yet conducting yourself in a way that people do not perceive you incorrectly. Conflicts or difficult situations, my dear students, require grit. It requires resilience. It requires positive self-esteem. So constantly talk to yourself so that you are developing your confidence, so that you are working on your grit and your resilience, right? And sometimes when your self-esteem is high, even when people say things to you that you don't like, you are in a better position to respond to them just because of that positive self-image, right? So thrive on the positives in your interactions, thrive on the positives that you have. Do not dwell on the negatives in others and in yourself, right? So when you're actually conducting yourself in the work environment, remember to, be enthusiastic. People should be able to see you as an energetic person, as somebody who's passionate about what he or she does, right? And when you are, let's say, doing an internship, have a mechanism by which you have one-on-one relationship with your manager. You can send weekly updates, or you can send bi-weekly updates, or you can send monthly updates, depending on the culture of the organization. But do find a way by which you are letting your superiors know what you are focusing on, right? Because at the end of the day, you want to create value for the organization and you want to create value for yourself, right? You want to make a difference. You want to stand out relative to your peers in the world of work, right? And you can always, seek feedback. So you can go to your manager and say, I've been working on this project. Do you mind taking a look and give me feedback? Don't just say general comments such as, how is my work? Right? You need to be specific and say, for this project that I've been working on, this is what I did. Or can you give me some feedback? Right? And sometimes you ask a manager to approve something and they forget. So the work is still pending with them. Reach out to them politely and professionally. So don't just email the next morning and say, yesterday I gave you something you haven't approved. Just wait for a day or day and a half. Then send a polite email and say, dear sir, in line with our communication regarding this, I'm wondering if there's an update that you could share with me. And then you can say, kindly let me know when possible for you. Please don't hesitate to contact me should you require any clarification or should you have any questions related to my email. Right? And thank you, best regards, and include your name. Right? So you need to reach out to people politely and professionally in all your interactions with others. So, my dear students, I just want to summarize this in terms of professional conduct and etiquettes. All of you have a story to tell, right? There's a particular reason that you've chosen this degree. There's a particular reason why you're focused on your specific specialization. Get to know your story. Just as you spend time with others, make sure you're spending time with yourself as well to really understand who you are, where do you thrive, where is it that you don't thrive, why you're doing a particular thing, how did you go about getting to where you are, right? And use that storyline to make yourself stand out. Every interaction in the world of work, my dear students, is a big deal, right? Make sure that you make every interaction count. Conduct yourself well, get ready for that interaction, feel good about yourself, do a little bit of a positive self-talk before you meet, and continue to believe in yourself. You have to nurture self-confidence in you at all times, my dear students. Just as you are pursuing, your degree, you're pursuing your job hunt, you're pursuing an internship, exactly in the same way, my dear students. Constantly pursue self-confidence. It's something that needs to be nurtured. Just as you need to water the plants. Plants need sunlight and oxygen to grow, right? Humans also need positive self-talk in order to nurture self-confidence, right? And pay it forward, which means if somebody has been kind to you, find a way to be kind to someone else. Keep that cycle of kindness and goodness going. That will give you great regard in the world of work and will give you great joy as well, right? Now, some of the don'ts. When you are using social media, my dear students, do not take it casually, right? So social media could be Facebook, it could be LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, Insta stories, whatever that platform may be. Recruiters are checking your social media presence, right? And keep your opinions on controversial topics aside, whether it's about a religion, it's about politics. Whenever there is difference of opinions on these matters, it results into a broken relationship. Don't get into it. You have right to your thought process. Similarly, others have right to their thought process, right? That is not something that you want to bring in the professional environment. When you're sending requests for connection on LinkedIn, let's say you're sending it to your faculty, make sure you write it properly. You send it to them so that they have a good impression about yourself. Make every request count. And in conflict situations, even if you are correct, my dear students, because many times you may very well be correct, do not react. So if the other person is angry, you don't be angry. If the other person is upset, you don't be upset, right? If you can teach yourself and train yourself to actually respond to situations, you will be in a much better position to handle conflicts, right? And conflict management is a key part of success in the world of work, because no matter what you do, you will always have situations which are difficult to handle. You will always have people who are unreasonable. While 80% of people or more are really good people in the world of work, but there are a small percentage of people, a small minority of people who are difficult, who make it very hard for you to succeed. Keep a distance. This is where healthy boundaries will come into the picture. And the 80% of the people who are good people, develop strong relations with them and handle situations at work with high emotional intelligence, with grit, with self-confidence, with self-preservation, right? Managing solid relationships in the world of work is an art. You need a lot of maturity and peace of mind and self-confidence in order for you to formulate good, solid relationships. And finally, I cannot emphasize this more. Surround yourself with good people. By now, you should be actively distinguishing between good people and not so good people. Especially when you are looking for a job and you're looking for internships, you have to be surrounded by people who will let you shine, people who will take out the best in you, right? And that's the kind of people you want to move forward with, so that your professionalism, your self-confidence, your overall composure, all of that advances over the period of time, right? This is all from my side, my dear students. I'm open to questions that you may have. I can turn off the recording, that way you can ask questions without feeling inhibited. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining our session today. I hope that there are key takeaways for you. I can send you the deck of slides if that's going to help you. I can also send you the recording of the session if that is something that you need. So take care, everybody. Let's stop the recording and I'll take any questions that you may have.